What an amazing time, guys, if you ignore the world around us. However, in this year, we are surrounded by some incredible TTRPG systems, and I'm talking fantasy RPGs, medieval knights on quests of honor, space adventures for money, scoundrels, and thieves looking for power, and so much more. But it's hard to get attention. I recognize that, so sometimes you've got to be weird with your system or mechanics. For example, in Dracula, you play as animal lawyers in a surreal city. Criminal cases are decided by actual dance-offs. This is real. Land of Og, OG. Player play as prehistoric cavemen with limited vocabulary with 1 or 2 words. That's all you get to do. Or you could play in a game called Everyone is John, where everyone plays as the voices in one guy's head, and you all take turns or vote on controlling his actions and fulfill his obsessions. So above table, let's all roll characters. We're all named John. Welcome players, DMs, and TTRPG enthusiasts to Above Table. Sure, D&D is fun, but wouldn't you rather play a game where you're a time-traveling Visigoth and 90s Molgoths in Visigoth versus Molgoth? That's too many Goths in one sentence. I literally Googled just like the weirdest TTRPGs, and that's what populated was all these ones. And honestly, they all sound fun.
They sound fun. I shared that one before where it's like you're the writer's room writing Highlander 2 and you're not supposed to know what happens in Highlander 2, and then so you all have to like pitch weird ideas and then you compare it to actual Highlander 2 and see if it's better or worse.
I know I've seen the film. I mean, it's been forever, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, I was looking through this one, and so far, me and Amber and we've been to a couple conventions so far, especially TTRPG centered cons, and obviously you'll always get like the D&D one shot that's happening live where everyone can sit down and watch. See Dracula, where actual players have to act. This is part of the game. You have to have a dance off physically. And the GM gets to decide which one's right, and that determines whether or not you are guilty or not. I think that's perfect for a con setting.
Somebody's got to rent a dance floor.
Yes, absolutely. I think it actually gets people up and moving and actually makes it fun. But welcome. Speaking of systems that are different than D&D, we have a couple subjects tonight. First and foremost is how to pick a new system for your group. Are you looking for something different than Dungeons and Dragons? I know we hear this a lot. Do you want to play some D&D? It's always, everyone's always saying that, but no one's ever asking, do you want to play some Blades?
Something
or
else.
Do you want to play, a Daggerheart? Or do you want to play, no one, we've got to make it more common.
Or Pico. I still want to play Pico.
We gotta play Pico next. It's not released yet by the time this recording is. But yeah, I think it's something that's unique in terms of what you probably experienced, Nick. I think I have a little bit of that experience, but something that you've been playing D&D and TTRPGs for a while, and you have a large assortment of systems currently at the ready. And we're kind of in the process of for home game process. We're selecting a new system to play.
Yeah, I think that it's maybe something common to long-term GMs and DMs and everything is, like you were saying earlier, there's such an abundance of indie RPGs or just alternate publisher tabletop RPGs out there. There are so many systems. And it can be hard to resist. Like, I kind of want to pick up that book. I want to do that. Even like, realistically, you're not going to play them. Like, You're probably not going to get a proper game of these going. But a lot of the books are just cool. You could adapt ideas from them to other games. But, if you do have a group like we do that is open to alternate systems, then the question becomes like, how long do you play a given system for? And how do you pick from all the different awesome games that you own or you're excited to try out?
Question for you, though. Obviously, and I think we've talked about this a few times, Amber and I, we've been a part of your game, your D&D game. We did it for 8 years. That was a hefty chunk of tabletop. And obviously, when it came down to preference, for the players who were there available, it was me, you, Amber. We had 2 to 3 other friends. People do jump out. After kind of that ended, we were all, I think majority of us were still talking about D&D, but you wanted to try something different. What made you choose? Because you chose, I think the 2 choices you gave us at the time was Dagger, no. It was
Blades
in
and
the
Heart,
Dark,
no?
and Heart, the City Beneath.
Yeah.
The City Beneath, or City
Yeah,
Below?
yeah, the City Beneath, yeah. I think, I'll say right off that a lot of the games that I recommended, and it seems like the one we're leaning towards for this break from Blades, have all been played in seasons of the podcast Friends at the Table, which is, I think, my favorite actual play experience thing that I'm not a part of or affiliated with in any way. And they've been going for 11, 12 years, some crazy long time. And they played Dungeon World and Blades in the Dark and several different science fiction, cyberpunk kind of games. And yeah, they had a Blades in the Dark season. They had a Heart season. And so those were games that really appealed to me because I got to hear how they would play out. I do think that it makes it a lot easier to run those games once you have heard them played for a bit. So there was that advantage as well. But I think also Blades and Heart both represented ways we could have gone steps away from D&D or alternate systems that would be different flavors of the experience. And we still haven't played Heart, but it's that is the dungeoning and monster fighting is similar, but a lot of the mechanics and the assumptions about characters are different. Yeah. But I think if you could, if there was possible to get the full data, I think jumping to Blades in the Dark is maybe one of the most common post D&D. It's a really successful alternate RPG game, and it has a lot of stuff in it. Forged in the Dark, the system that Blades invented, has gone on to inspire a lot of other games and be used for a lot of other games. And the mechanics in it, the way it puts more narrative control in the hands of the players, players getting themselves in trouble, helping to write the story and drive the narrative forward. It's a lot of good stuff that opens players up to what's possible with these kind of RPGs, and I think ultimately makes your life as a GM easier. It's built into the system are things that propel the narrative forward, which I like a lot.
Yeah, I think it's easier to be open to new systems the moment you start seeing people enjoy themselves playing it.
Yeah.
Which is it's such a such a paradox, I guess, if you look at it on paper. It's I would have only played or tried out running a kids on bikes game if I didn't, I wouldn't have tried it if I did not see Dimension 20's, Magic Misfits. I would have never done that. But then again, that means someone needed to be interested in actually playing that system to do a let's play or an actual play of it, which means they would need to see someone, and it was sort of like this self-eating prophecy of this sort of paradox sort of going around circle. So it does require some people just to sort of get out of that comfort zone. I think a great question, and I'll throw this to you, Amber, is that when we were building, or at least when I was building Amalgamation, that obviously, I think that's a great sort of example of us trying out a system that no one's ever tried before.
Yeah, I liked it though. I think your players have to be open to it. I think if you play for D&D, can't talk. If you play D&D so long and that is your first step into TTRPGs, a lot of people don't like change. So they're just I don't want to move from the system I'm comfortable from playing and seeing and interacting with. But there's so many TTRPGs out there, it's just insane. And I think you may run into a few like, hey, you don't like that they're crunchy. But I mean, I think I've had a good time trying out Amalgamation, Blades. I trust Nick's judgment. Again, I think this kind of goes off of your relationship with your GM. Like, do you trust them and what they're introducing to you in the table?
It's also nice to have like stepping stones, I think. And it's so funny. Like, if you were playing D&D your entire life and someone's, I think you're right, Nick, that like Blades is a good step, like adjacent.
Good segue.
Like a
Baby
side
step.
of sort of, because it's crunchy enough and levels. You could sort of like see the leveling up, much like if you're playing D&D. It's just a different feel. And I think it's funny as a GM, especially one who does content creation. For a while, I was like, no way would I ever switch off D&D, because why would I? It's the most popular thing. And now I can understand that now that I've been doing it for so long, especially the content creation part of it, of course I want to try different stories that don't fit D&D as sort of a narrative system. And I start to see other creators doing the exact same thing. I think a while ago I saw someone that Vixibel was promoting. It was someone who's playing Brindle Bay, the one where you're playing
Brindlewood Bay, yeah, the
Brindlewood
mystery
Bay.
game, yeah.
And I'm like, yes. People are starting. I think people are getting a little tired of D&D.
Well, now it's had
Yeah.
its resurgence, even though by the time it came out, when this episode comes out, it will have already had its big to do. But still.
Yeah. I mean, D&D is we don't have to be knocking it. It's extremely popular and gonna remain the most popular one like forever. I don't think we can imagine a world where that's not the case. I don't have the stats off hand, but I'm sure it's an order of magnitude higher. Like, it's all over like
million.
Barnes and Noble and whatever. Like, every place has, yeah.
The funny thing about, especially when you start to like build a company, when it comes to TTRPGs, you have to find these numbers. And I think it was reported in 2021 that there were reported from just Wizards of the Coast that there were 50 million players worldwide, which is astronomically huge.
Yeah, it's a lot. And like, what do you think the second most is? Is it still Pathfinder or something? Like, what is the second biggest?
It's Pathfinder is the second.
Yeah, and is it like 1 million or something?
It's
like
so small.
Yeah. Yeah, and then all the ones we're talking about are lower than that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's but that's the thing, is like, tabletop role-playing games aren't Dungeons and Dragons. It is one way to do it. And you can have a lot of fun with it, and like you said, like, we played it for almost a decade in one specific campaign, and kind of like, I as a GM was kind of feeling like I did what I wanted to do with this system. And, not broadcasting it or anything. I don't have to consider any audience. I just have to consider what's going to be fun for me and my players. And so it's like, I'm going to have more fun, and I think I can share that fun with you guys if we can try something else. And, like I did the first time, I offered the two alternatives. This time, for our like taking a break from Blades for, maybe like half a year or something, I proposed 4 different ones. Like, these are ones I'm interested in, that I've had my eye on, that again are like moving in different directions from what we've been doing mechanically and theme wise and everything. And just like, it doesn't have to work for anybody but us at the table. And if there was an issue where people like were dead set against certain games or whatever, like I could see that being an issue. But we've been playing together for so long and done so many different things that I don't see that, I don't see that being something we would really have to deal with. And yeah, just we can continue to try what's out there and stretch our gameplay muscles and everything.
I'm imagining an alternate world where Nick came to us after the 8-year-long campaign and was like, guys, you want to play something else? And all of us went no. And just Nick going,
Yeah, I mean, I would have done it again because it's super fun, but it would have been the weirdest D&D game. Like, and you do this a lot with the stream thing, is you often push what D&D can be. And I think a lot of experienced GMs end up doing this. Stuff that's not in the book, stuff borrowed from other games, like pushing it to playing around with it in different genres, doing different stuff with the game. And that's always been the case with D&D, like house rules and different versions of it and different source books and all that. So I think it just would have ended up being a weird spin on D&D, which can also be fun.
I'm glad you guys aren't like rules nuts. I mean, like, yes, mechanics wise, but I feel like you guys both lend flavor to your players and not just be like, nope, I said nope, so therefore nope.
Yeah.
For you.
It's a thing. I think obviously it's a different subject that we're talking about, but I think just to touch on that, it's very much of the rules are there just to create a foundation. However, if the foundation is broken or stifling fun, you might as well just crack the floor and just go, all right, do whatever you want. Here's a brand new thing. I put a pool inside the living room. Here you go.
Oh no.
Well, we talked about D&D, which is really funny, mainly because D&D right now has released some new subclasses, which, again, it's hard not to talk about the most popular system out there. It is their villainous subclasses, which I did not preemptively pull up, so I'm pulling it up right now. Villainous, D&D.
Circle of Titans, everybody was like, you could just be Godzilla or something.
Yeah, just be a Godzilla is cool, is definitely cool. Like, you can see that one, I feel like really, the idea, okay, these are villainous options. So your mind goes to either, okay, we're going to do that game that everybody always thinks about, well, like the all evil party, right? For all the, most of those probably fail fictionally, but some of these would make really good campaign villains for sure. Like a guy who can just turn into like a giant insect monster. That's a really cool idea. I'd say the thing that jumped out to me.
You really want to be a bug.
Yeah. Reading through these, I like what they're doing. Somebody there, some designer there is like wanting to engage with different systems of D&D that we haven't seen a ton of before. The Pestilence Domain Cleric does a lot of stuff with levels of exhaustion.
Yes.
The Hell Knight does a thing where whenever you roll a 6 on your like extra D6 thing, something triggers. And that's like very board gamey. It's like Gloomhaven and other kind of like board game stuff where like there's these other systems and like resources that often don't get played with in D&D, and they're clearly doing that with these classes.
Yeah, and they just released, I think yesterday, a new set, so version like a second set of villainous classes. So quickly, what is currently what is offered right now is the Pestilent Domain Cleric, the Circle of Titan Druid, the Hell Knight Fighter, which is really. Let me pause on that one real quick. The biggest thing that Morse, Steve's character, really wanted to be at the very end, which I'm not spoiling anything. He sort of talked about this publicly too, was that he wanted to be like a Dread Knight or some sort of like undead knight at the very end of it. I was like, oh, that would have been the perfect. You could have gone that way. Moving on from the fighter, there is the demonic sorcerer, and then finally what they just released, I think a day ago, was the Path of Lament Barbarian, the Warrior of Venom Monk, and the Primordial Patron Warlock. Which I think all of them are
very cool.
Pretty cool. I haven't had a time to really kind of dive into any of these, so it sounds like you guys have kind of done your homework. Maybe not by the newer ones, but definitely by the one that just came out like a week ago or something.
Yeah, I didn't know they had a second set.
A few weeks.
Yeah, I reviewed the first one, and when I first looked at, like, I think I've talked about before the 3rd edition supplement I had. I think it was maybe like not. I don't know if it was published by Wizards itself. I think it was under their license, but was the Tomb of Vile Darkness that had all kinds of like messed up prestige classes was mostly what it was. That's not a thing we have in 5e or 5.5, but And it was stuff like, the vermin druid and like the cancer mage and some really unpleasant stuff. A lot of details of demonic sacrifices and everything. But you can see that kind of thing. And like, I think D&D struggles with this as the most popular game in the world and as the one that dealt with like the satanic panic issues and like wanting it to be kid friendly. Is like, how messed up can a demon be? How hellish is hell, right? And some of these I think go a little further than you normally get. The like details of the like diseases you can inflict. Caught a lot. They're also really. It feels like Diablo. Some of this, like you make skeletal arms pop out of the ground in an aura around you, is like a necromancer ability from the Diablo games. Which is cool and is a different kind of direction for the game.
I think it definitely directs someone's visual kind of a concept of the abilities and go, oh, it's very gamified.
Yeah,
it's sort of reminiscent. So Pestilent Cleric, I love the fact that they are using a lot of the exhaustion mechanic in D&D that doesn't really get touched upon a lot, unless your DM is like, all of these things, all these effects deal with exhaustion or something along the lines. But then here, the cleric can also shapeshift. The height of the subclass's power, the cleric can shapeshift into a swarm of plague-ridden pests to terrorize foes. So you can turn into a swarm as a cleric, which that's unique. Haven't seen that before, which is really cool. Circle the Titan. This says here so you could take on to 3 monstrous forms. You can turn into a structure-stomping behemoth, a waste-spewing leviathan, or a healing insectoid. I guess mechanics still have to be there. There has to be some sort of healer for the druid, because druids are the half-healers, I guess.
Pestilence Domain is like giving me mummy vibes, like the sand face, and then like, I would play it that way.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's like religion. Fine, I'll give you religion.
you can. When somebody gets reduced to 0 hit points, you can make like a plague burst come out of them, which is really cool. Like, again,
mummy.
very the mummy. It's Diablo abilities. For sure. I think these are some cool ideas. And I think, have you guys ever done, I mean, you've probably done it as a one shot that I don't know specifically, but the all evil party.
Yeah.
We were goblins.
We did
We
did 2 versions. We did the all goblins one where we were all minions of an evil lich. And then we were all villains who died and went to Hades.
Okay.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah. That's I like that idea. I like that conceit, because I think that often, and I did this when I was playing in like middle school, high school, is like, let's all be evil. There's chaotic evil. That's cool. Let's all do that. And then, it's really hard not to just have everybody like backstabbing each other and killing each other or whatever, which gets old really fast.
I think Dimension 20 did do, I think it's like protect
an all villains,
an all villains campaign, or like a little season, and it was like protect the Demon Keep or Doom Keep or something along the lines. It was like anti Lord of the Rings. So it was like, instead of bringing a ring out, you're supposed to be just running along those lines. And I think they did it pretty well, where every villain, I think this is a great way to run an all evil campaign, is that every PC who's a villain, you are villainous, you are evil, you're supposed to be a little careless, but you should have one thing that you honestly do care about. So we had there was a ranger who really cared about animals, because they're like, oh, it's this ugly looking horse creature. It's beautiful. Don't mess. Oh, it'll bite your hand out. Like, you're supposed to care about it. And that could be a good motivator for the DM to go, they stole your evil horse. No. And everyone else kind of, like, the idea, I think the rule they had was like, everyone has something that they do care about, even if they're evil. And everyone else should respect what everyone else cares about. So once, like, the guy who lost his horse, everyone's like, oh, I'm sorry. Grimhammer, I'm really sorry that you lost your horse. Oh, well, we'll help you find it. It's a beautiful animal. It's like, I guess that's sort of the best way to run. I've noticed.
I don't think was evil, though. You were evil.
We
You
were
just
all
weren't
bad.
good enough to be in the good place and in the underworld, so that's why you guys had to try for your lives a time.
You told me to play someone who went to hell. I was gonna build someone who went to hell. By the way, it's level 14. So when you hit the Circle of Titans for the Druid, at 14th level, Druids of the Circle can grow to gargantuan size, which
Yeah,
that's insane.
gargantuan.
Gargantuan, you get the ability to swallow enemies. That's
Are you like a Tarrasque at that point?
awesome. Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the behemoth would basically be that kind of thing. Like, I think that's cool. And again, I think that's looking at these, like, rather than, okay, it would be interesting to have a party made up of these different types of people, but also thinking more specifically, if these were villains in a more traditional campaign, and like, it's very cool to have a fight against a gargantuan thing. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, there's like a lot of logistical things that are fun and interesting, and you're like defending a city or whatever. Like, that's cool. And if the gargantuan thing was also like a guy that you have encountered and been like fighting, and like it's not just a mindless beast, but it's a person.
Yeah.
With like a person's intelligence and being gargantuan, is a combination you don't get in a lot of different creatures in D&D. And I think there's some cool opportunities there.
Yeah.
I want
I
to talk
guess-
Tarrasque.
At the very
Yeah.
least, just allowing the GM to use these things, I think, is also just a good recipe for fun stories. Jumping over to sort of the new things that came out. So once again, there is the Path of Lament Barbarian, who it looks like it focuses on sorrow and hunger instead, and like malice and wrath instead of like rage. We kind of associate. I think what I like that what Wizards of the Coast is doing with the Barbarian is that they're not focusing on mad. They're like, okay, you are raging, I get it. But what if rage was sadness? You know, like they're pulling on different emotions, which I think is kind of funny. Because when I think of like the stereotypical bad barbarian player, they're just like, I'm a mean guy that likes to kill things and eat big meat and drink beer. You know, it's like, no. Sometimes you got to get in tune with your emotions, which I think is really, really funny. But no, the Path of Lament Barbarian, you can have basically a ghostly wail. You have like a banshee scream.
It's like Kratos before he was Dad Kratos, because he was just going around fucking killing everybody because he hated it.
Yeah, well, I think if you had to put Kratos in the box, old school Kratos, he was definitely just a standard barbarian. I don't think there was anything super special about him.
He was mad because he was sad, right?
Yeah, I was like, I think it was like
happened.
anger and grief mixed into one character.
Aren't we all? Isn't that all madness is ultimately being sad about something? No.
The Warrior of Venom monk. At first, I was like, wait, like Spider-Man? Like, what do you mean? No, this is all about spider, snakes, venomous stuff, like alchemical, synthesized toxins, hallucinogenic vapors, and truth serums. Yeah, it feels a little bit like the Mercy Monk, where you are splashing, like you are doing extra damage. This one's focusing on poison, I would assume.
Yeah,
I feel like it's reverse monk, because innately, like, I think you become immune to all poisons or something at a certain level.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, instead of being immune, it's like, I'm going to push the poison out against you.
yeah, it mentions in the summary that like they can have poisonous touch and blood and breath. It's the leech
Lorelei.
from Blades, where you're immune to a toxin and you can
Yes.
breathe it out or exude it through your skin. They also have they mention there that like the toxic blood feature for the Warrior Venom Monk plays with the bloodied mechanic.
Yeah, here it is.
Which 5e doesn't technically have, but it's a new thing in 5.5, right? The bloodied status, where if the Venom Monk is bloodied, they do more damage because of the splashing of their own blood on their enemies. They're like poison blood. But yeah, that is like some designers who are making these classes are looking at like, okay, bloodied. Is there like a subclass that can play with bloodied? Is there a subclass that can play with rolling sixes, right? We've seen some of those before, like is it like the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer or whatever, like the one that can automatically make a die roll a 10 or whatever, or like the Divination Wizard who can like grab numbers and like lock those numbers in, right? Those kinds of different ways of playing the game that like something like Blades and alternate systems lean into a lot, but D&D hasn't always. I think a lot of 5e's subclasses are, this is the one that's affiliated with dragons, this is the one that's affiliated with nature or whatever, and just mix and match, right? But they have a flavor, but also this is the bloodied one. This is the exhaustion subclass, which I think is cool and is making, I think, 5.5 maybe more of an interesting game mechanically.
I will say, out of the list that they brought here, I'm not that hyped about the primordial patron for Warlock. I think they even kind of try to cover their butts in terms of the breakdown of what it says. It's like, hey, we get it. This sounds so familiar, like the genie patron. We know. It's an elemental. We got it, but it's not. And it's like, I guess not. I mean, sure, but there could have been so many other, alternatives or options that could have been put forward here. But yeah, now we have a primordial patron, which is basically like an elemental titan, which is cool. I don't know. It doesn't wow me.
Yeah, if you really like the Princes of the Apocalypse and the Temple of Elemental Evil, like they're calling out on the landing page, like they have those, evil water, evil earth, right? Those are the things that are, they've been in D&D for like 40 years now, right? These forces of evil element. But I don't think it immediately, like, it doesn't grab you unless you're like really into that particular kind of setting angle, I think. Yeah. I gotta ask a question on these, like all of these together, because the opening of that book, that 3rd edition book, the Tome of Vile Darkness, talks about what is evil and what makes a subclass evil. If you think about it, like every subclass, more or less, is about like giving you ways to kill or defeat or whatever. Like that's a lot of it. That's a big part. So like that's taken as a given. So what makes like a pestilence mage or like a warrior are these inherently evil? I feel like some of these I could see a good aligned character being, but like the pestilence cleric, okay, spreading disease we think that's different than like fighting, right? That's a different sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's an interesting question here, and for D&D at large is like, what makes a subclass a villainous subclass?
We'll put gross stuff in it, and therefore it is villainous.
Yes, yeah, that's a lot of it, right? Giant insect. That's not villainous, but it's gross.
Yeah.
I think you could be. Oh, sorry. I think you could in any subclass make an argument that it could be good or bad. Like for the pestilence cleric, you could say, I'm going to use this ability that, like, I don't know, this city is imprisoned by some force. I'm going to go use my ability to cause disease on all these people that are holding this village hostage. It's technically a good thing. It's just maybe not the, like, I rode in on my knight in shining armor with the sword and the whole bit.
I could actually make a good aligned pestilent cleric. They create bugs that eat all the microplastics that are in the ocean.
There you go.
And they're like, yeah, we're here. We're the undergrowth insects that eat all the waste that has been left behind. I think it's very telling that when a dragon comes to town, it does state in the book, like, their lair or the land around them gets altered and changed. And some of it's not good. Like, if you're next to, like, a red dragon, like, everything starts to catch on fire, burn. You're like, I brought my insects that can eat all this ash. And it's great. And people are like, yay, the bug cleric's here. They're here to do cleanup. It's like, that's a good way to be a hero villainous. So I think you're right. I think there's no such thing as like a villainous kind of class or subclass.
Yeah, they purposely don't like they in the text they say like sinister or anti-heroes are evil, but they're not evil options, they're villainous options. Because I think like the Circle of the Titan druid is like a druid that, okay, civilization's encroaching on nature and I'm going to become a giant monster and strike back at civilization. So like most of us as like real world people are in favor of civilization, kinda, more or less, right?
Sure.
But so like, okay, we can see why that would be a threat. That's like a thematic villain. That's like a poison ivy kind of type of villain, right? Like striking back at civilization. But like, there's nothing inherently evil about just becoming a big monster.
Yeah.
You know, like that person could be but they make good thematic villains. Also, just look at like the Venom Monk, making an enemy where every time your players hit them, their poison blood splashes out and hurts like Alien. Like that is a good villain because it forces them to engage with that villain in a different way. Like hitting them hurts us too. What are we going to do about that? You know,
the fact that it's a monk that moves so goddamn quick.
Yeah.
It's gonna close the distance so quick.
It's going to like deflect a bunch of missiles. So it's like, okay, range isn't working. Getting in close splashes their blood. What do we do against this guy?
Are we being pedantic, everyone online? We probably are. We're probably like picking at the small we get it.
I'm like, new character.
Oh, jeez. There's a very old game, and it was released for multiple systems, but I think it was like a Marvel's beat 'em up game where it was like the Inhumans, I think it was what it was called. And they came up with a bunch of new Marvel like villains and anti-heroes, and one of them was he had like this clear plastic film skin, and his body was injected with toxins, and he became Toxin, and he had injectors for fingertips, and he had a bunch of tubings like Bane. And he was this lithe guy who didn't have any bones, so he would like roll around a lot. And he, very much so, when I saw the War Venom Monk, the splashing of acid, I was like, oh, it's this weird obscured character that no one ever knows.
I think it's motive. I wouldn't say innately all those things are horrible. How you're using them or how you intend to use them, yes, those could be seen.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, this is a separate. We need to do this a separate time. But is the good, evil, lawful, chaotic thing in D&D, is alignment just total bullshit? Does it work at all? I don't know if it works at all. I think the Magic the Gathering, the like 5 colors with their different philosophies, they've done a much better job with that, of like any color could have a hero, any color could have a villain when taken to extremes. I think that's a much better like morality system. Saying that somebody is evil, like it feels very old-fashioned in a way I think most people's games aren't anymore in D&D.
I mean, a really great example that's sort of fresh in mind is that when you first met Wakia, she was a dragon, the dragon subclass for monks, where they do elemental damage on punches. And that's not technically an evil villain subclass, but it was definitely used on someone who was just not good. And then later learned that maybe a little grayer than kind of expected. But yeah, I think it's all about flavoring. I think any kind of like the first thing, for some reason, the first thought that came to mind was like a forge cleric, someone who can build armor and weapons, but they're building armor and weapons for the bad guys. It's like anything could be kind of a bad subclass. And it's all about how you describe and explain things, how you narrate things, and everyone can tell the way I'm starting to transition.
Nice segue.
Thank you. I'm really happy you caught it. Yeah, our last subject for today is the encouragement of players to narrate their abilities or what they do and how they play in the game. This one I'm always kind of stuck on, and encouraging people to kind of describe how things go, because there are some players. We have people who we play with who are, they'll just say,
I'll describe.
I'll stab. I'll stab this guy, I'll stab him in the heart. It's like, okay. And then you'll hear that 9 more times and go, is there any other way you think you can yeah, encouraging people how to do it. I like telling you, asking you guys when you cast a spell or do an ability that you have not done before, to describe it, because I think that sets a precedent of how, like, if you tell me that a fireball is a large explosion that starts as a small little bead and then explodes outwards, that's a great description. That's a really cool way to describe it. I don't need to ask you that every single time you cast fireball, but the first time you do it, I really want to know, and that's how I encourage you guys to describe. Now this is your time to talk and tell me whether or not that's annoying.
I don't think that's annoying. I think it forces people to get out of their comfort zone. And I think if you're in a group where the majority does it, the person that's a little less likely to might jump in and do it because it's like, oh, I have examples. Or they may just be so new at that character that they're playing. They're like, I don't know what the hell they do just yet. So, sometimes it takes a couple sessions to figure it out.
I think in non-D&D systems, I think Blades is a good example. It's very much of any action you take, you really have to kind of put some thought into it. It's like, okay, I'm going to try to convince this guy to let us through. And Nick, your response usually is, well, how? You know, are you being convincing? Are you being sweet? Are you being deceptive? Like, what do you think you could say in this moment that would actually make this guy move? And I mean, there's some understanding that sometimes you don't know as a player. You're like, I don't know, man. I think of something.
Yeah. Blades has the interesting thing where it encourages you most of the time, or often at least, a die roll does not represent one moment. Like, it's not one sword slash. You know, a fight can be a couple of rolls, and that represents, like, 3 minutes of back and forth or whatever. Or, you make one sway check, and that covers, like, a whole, how you acted for hours at a party. And so, like, then we can pick out a few moments. And I think, like, dialogue is tough. There's the inherent issue of anything having to do with, like, intelligence or charisma. If your characters are really smart and really charismatic, and in the moment you're not feeling smart or charismatic, how do you role play that? How do you come up with that? So, like, I think you have to understand that, like, your character is saying more or doing something better than you're going to, but you have to communicate the vibe of it, the kind of thing, right? I think you're usually in a bad place if you're really expecting the player to say things word for word that is the same as the character, unless it's like, a password or some kind of, like, the exact wording is really important. Usually it's better if, like, I assume your character's saying something like that. It's also like, are your characters speaking English? Right? Like, we have to assume there's some kind of translation going on. So it's, we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I think with spell casting, I definitely think there's a lot of opportunity for flavor there. I think for combat, it can get tough. Like, how do you distinguish what you're doing and, like, your fighting style? I think some people do know, like, a lot about that kind of thing and go deep into, sword fighting or whatever else. And they know about moves and all that. But yeah, I think spell casting, there's a lot of room for flavor, right up into the point where it's like your version of a spell seems like it's a different kind of spell. And then it's like, okay, but it's not doing anything mechanically different. But flavor-wise, it can look different and sound different and, be an expression of your character in that way.
I just do it for reactions. I like when you guys react to things that I describe as a player.
It's a weird, I think it is a weird tightrope balance, because it's very much of, as a DM, the moment you hear any kind of start of action, like, I'm going to intimidate this person, or you start to hear that the conversation starts to become more like, there's a little bit of emotion in everything you do. So the moment you start to feel like, wow, if I was in this guy's shoes, I'm feeling like what they're saying right now is kind of intimidating, and it's up to you as the GM to really be perceptive and like be a little insight of that and go, it sounds like you're trying to do it this way, and kind of lead the players a little bit. It feels really good when I've had moments because I've run multiple games and multiple parties. I've had moments where a character will say something to my NPC and kind of shake me. I'm like, oh, okay, you made me mad. Now we're on. Now, okay, what was that feeling? You're being very, you're being very intimidating. Okay, roll me intimidation check. Like I could feel it. Let's see how well, whether I have to stifle that feeling because you failed and it wasn't that it didn't affect the character too much, or this is gonna be real. I think the raw thing I would just tell DMs is that encourage players to be like, add a little bit more information. There's no harm in asking a player to put a little bit more effort or a little bit more thought behind an action or a discussion. So, if someone goes, I want to, sweep this person off. I want to swoo this person. I want to sweep them off their feet. You go, okay. Do you bring flowers? Like, what do you, what kind of gifts would you bring? Or like, encourage them to say more than just the actual results.
Yeah, I think asking like, what does that look like? What does that sound like? It doesn't, they don't have to do the whole thing, but just give me a detail or two, a sensory detail or two. What do the other people around you see when this is happening? I think that goes a long way, right? That helps feed that theater of the mind that we want to.
Plus, it could
the Umber Club is just chambers of my brain and weird ass ideas.
I think we all have different visions of the Umber Club. I for some reason, when I think of it, I think of a carpeted basement, like downstairs from your parents' home, like a little sort of basement space.
I don't think of it like that at all.
That's the first thing came to my mind, was that like I had concrete walls with pillars and a sort of for some reason a carpeted floor. That's what went through my mind, but I know it's different for you.
I'm thinking of like caverns that are underground, and then like as you go further into caverns, there's like catacombs, which is obviously a room, and then like it branches off into these different rooms. And you could probably get lost down there if you don't know what where the fuck.
I'm in the room.
We know there's catacombs are an element, and it's water is an element because it's like right by the ocean or whatever. But I think part of the idea is it looks different every time, right? Yeah.
They're like, we tried this out. We got to pull it out. This is not working. It's too much water and moisture down here. We tried wood floors and it just warped.
Too much mold.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully all of this, whether it was either educating, intriguing for you to try different systems to introduce your party, or encouragement for the GMs out there to ask a little bit more. That's always fine. And if a player says no, you can always back off. But thank you so much for joining us for Above Table. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.